Caleb Nichols had been on the road for 6 hours before he saw the sign, rusted, bent at an angle, almost swallowed by the creeping moss that claimed everything this deep into the Appalachian backwoods. W57 Communications Outpost, authorized personnel only. There was no gate, no cameras, no fence, just the silence of the forest, unnatural in its stillness. He stepped out of the van, boots crunching gravel that hadn't been disturbed in decades. The air was heavy, as if the trees were holding their breath. He stood there for a moment, unsure why he felt like he was trespassing on something older than the building. The outpost was ugly and concrete, a cold, wary bunker with its corners too sharp and its windows too narrow. He didn't want to go inside. But Caleb was nothing if not practical. The company, a small, private telecom firm that dabbled in defense contracts, had sent him here after the W57 station inexplicably pinged their central server. The facility was supposed to have been decommissioned in 1993. Power disconnected, files shredded, personnel reassigned. Yet last week, at 317 am, a signal originating from W57 had reconnected to the internal grid. Not a message, not even code, just signal. A dead line resurrected. Caleb pushed open the door. It wasn't locked. The air inside was stale and cold. Not the kind of cold that came from the mountain chill, but the kind that clung to things long left untouched. The first room was a security checkpoint, though the glass window of the guard station had long since fogged from inside. A desk sat behind it, a single lamp glowing faintly orange, not flickering, not dying, just on. He checked his watch. It was fully digital but had begun to lag the moment he stepped past the threshold. Glancing at the analog wall clock above the checkpoint revealed a different time altogether. Great, he muttered. He took a breath and stepped deeper into the station. The main corridor stretched forward into blackness. Emergency lights buzzed overhead, casting a reddish hue that turned the walls to meat. Dust motes hung frozen in the light, undisturbed. The equipment room lay just ahead, or what should have been a gutted, obsolete shell. But it wasn't. The mainframe hummed. CRT monitors glowed. Massive analog servers, their spools of tape still whirring, sat like hibernating beasts. And in the center of the room, the broadcasting terminal blinked. Signal transmitting active, 154 hours. That didn't make sense. Caleb typed into the command prompt. The system wasn't just active, it had been live for over 6 days. No power outages, no data loss, no errors. There was no recent login except username system access time 050342 6 days ago. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. System? That account hadn't existed in the company's database since the 90s. He clicked into the signal stream. It was transmitting white noise. Random static, or so it seemed. The waveform, though, wasn't random at all. It had rhythm, patterns. Caleb froze. His headphones were still in his bag in the van, but curiosity gnawed at him. He increased the speaker volume slightly, just enough to hear the faint hiss of static crawl through the room. The static shifted. He wasn't imagining it. A whisper, then silence, then another whisper, like words spoken through radio interference. Hear me. His hand moved before his brain told it to, muting the audio. He laughed nervously. His voice cracked in the empty room. Jesus, Caleb. You're just tired. He took out his phone. No signal. Not even GPS. The compass app spun uselessly in circles. He turned his attention back to the server logs. They went back years. Decades. Data had continued to flow after the shutdown date. Dozens of entries per day. He clicked into one at random. Log entry 09/19/2007. He's walking the hallway again. The new one. I saw him in the tape. It's always the same moment. Always the same breath. How many versions of me are in here? Caleb scrolled through more entries. 2011, 2014, 2022. Some were written in all caps. Some were complete nonsense. But all of them ended with a number. A countdown. 19 remaining. 14 remaining. 5 remaining. And the last entry. 0 remaining. He is ready. Caleb backed away from the screen. This wasn't what he signed up for. He was a systems tech, not some ghost hunter. The company didn't say anything about logs, broadcasts, or voices. He made his way toward the back of the station where the generator room should have been. If he could cut the power, maybe everything would shut off and he could reset it properly. As he walked, he passed a side hallway that hadn't shown up on the floor plan. It was short, no more than 10 feet, and ended in a door marked archive. Something about that word bothered him. He reached for the handle. It turned easily. The room inside was pitch black except for a single red bulb hanging from the ceiling. Rows of shelving stretched back into the darkness, lined with VHS tapes. Dozens, hundreds, each one had a white label with a date. Some from the 80s, some from last year, some from next year. He picked one up. Cal 091025. His name, today's date. A sudden noise behind him made him jump. A flicker of static popped from the corner TV mounted high on the wall. It turned on by itself. He watched as grainy footage played. A hallway, the one outside. He saw himself on screen, standing exactly as he was now, and on a VHS tape. Then, behind the Caleb on the screen, something moved. A tall, indistinct shape, dark as smoke, standing perfectly still at the end of the hallway. He turned around. The hallway was empty, but the TV still showed the figure, one step closer. I didn't sleep that night. Not that I could have, even if I wanted to. Not after what I saw on that TV. The moment I turned away from the monitor and looked back at the hallway, it was empty. Just concrete, dust, and silence. But the screen had shown something. Not a glitch, not a flicker, a shape, a thing. And it had been standing behind me. You're just tired, I told myself again. That's all this was. A stress dream with open eyes. No food, no sleep. Hours of back roads and caffeine. My brain was just catching up with the weirdness of this place. Except, that wasn't quite true. I had seen the tape. My name, my date. The footage matched my exact position in real time. That wasn't just hallucination. That was evidence. So what's worse, going crazy, or the tapes being real? I chose to believe I was crazy. It was less terrifying. I spent the next hour cataloging the archive room. The tapes were arranged in a weird sort of chronological maze, not by year, not by subject, just time. Some had names. Some had only numbers. Others had labels scratched out like whoever wrote them regretted doing it. I found 4 more labeled Cal. Different dates. One a week from now. Another, 2 months in the past. I didn't touch them. Instead, I took the one from today and popped it into the dusty VCR beneath the wall-mounted screen. It whirred, loud and clunky, and then the footage began. There I was, stepping into the archive room just as I had an hour ago. This must be some kind of looped surveillance, I reasoned. Maybe someone set it up to record the station automatically. But then, who was recording me before I even arrived? I watched the footage carefully. My digital self looked around, reached for the shelf, took the tape, exactly as I'd done. Then something changed. The tape didn't just replay what I remembered. The footage continued, showing actions I hadn't taken yet. I stood frozen as my recorded self moved toward the back of the archive room, through a narrow aisle I hadn't noticed before. He stopped at a door. I glanced to my left. There it was, real, solid, a narrow iron door almost invisible between 2 towering shelves. In the video, I pushed it open. I watched myself vanish into darkness. Then, a few seconds later, I came back out. Except that me in the tape looked wrong. His walk was off, like his limbs were slightly longer, the joints looser. He stared directly at the camera with this wide, vacant grin that didn't belong to me. I paused the video. I couldn't breathe for a few seconds. My mouth was dry. My fingers trembled. No, I whispered. Nope, not happening. I backed out of the room and shut the door. The silence of the hallway felt oppressive, like sound was being sucked out of the air instead of echoing down the walls. The emergency lights still pulsed red above, one of them now dimmer than the others. I had to check the power room. That had been the plan, right? Reset the system, cut the signal, shut the station down. Yeah, do the job, get paid, go home. Normal thoughts, safe thoughts. I took the long corridor to the south wing, where a set of reinforced double doors led into the generator chamber. The facility blueprints had listed it as the main source of backup power. I expected dust, cobwebs, rot. Instead, I found pristine machinery, humming, active, and almost too clean, like it had never aged. A single incandescent bulb lit the center of the room. The generator was analog, massive, fed by an underground fuel source that should have dried up decades ago. I checked the dials. Full pressure. Stable output. Impossible, I muttered. Someone had to be maintaining this. But who? A clipboard lay on a hook nearby. I flipped through the logs. The last inspection was dated last month. The name listed was mine. I didn't write this. I never even knew this place existed before last week. My heart pounded. My vision blurred a little, and I had to sit on the edge of the generator housing, holding my head in both hands. What is this place? I didn't expect an answer, but I got one anyway. A crackle of static came from the overhead speaker. At first, it was just white noise. Then, a voice. Faint, distant. Caleb, why did you leave the door open? I stared up at the speaker, mouth half open. No, I whispered. No, no, no. I ran. I didn't stop until I was back at the control room, hands trembling as I gripped the desk. The monitors were all active now. One showed the hallway. Another showed the archive room, with the door at the back now wide open. The camera's feed glitched slightly, then stabilized, and someone stepped out of the back door. It was me. No, not me. Something wearing my face. But the eyes were wrong. Empty. Hungry. I shut off the monitor. I couldn't look at it. Couldn't think. You're hallucinating, I told myself. You've snapped. You hit your breaking point. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. This station wasn't abandoned. It was occupied. Not by people, but by something else. Something that could record you before you arrived. Something that could copy your walk, your face, your name. And it was coming for me. I considered running out into the woods, but the roads were gone. GPS was broken. The van wasn't starting. I had no signal, no map, no daylight left. I needed more information. So I made a decision that still makes my skin crawl even thinking about it. I went back to the archive room. I opened the iron door in the back. Inside was a single chair, a desk, and a wall covered in hundreds of photos, every one of them blurry, grainy, but all of me. Sleeping, working, crying, even as a child. And in the center of the wall, one photo pinned by a rusted nail. It showed me standing right where I was now, but behind me stood the shape again. Closer. I stood there for what felt like an hour, eyes locked on that photo. Me, and it. The shape behind me was clearer this time. Still blurred around the edges, like it was wearing the air wrong, like it didn't fit. But the shape of it, tall, hunched, limbs long enough to brush the floor. No face, no mouth. Just a suggestion of a head, tilted toward mine like it was whispering something I couldn't hear. How long has it been watching me? The wall of photos buzzed faintly, not an actual sound, but something in my brain. Like a mosquito that existed only in memory. That photo, the one pinned dead center, still clutched my attention, as if staring too long at it might allow the thing to step out of the frame. I forced myself to look away. That's when I noticed it. The room was colder now. Not the kind of cold that made you shiver, colder than that. Cold like being buried. The breath in my throat turned sharp, thin. My lungs didn't feel right. My hand started to go numb. I turned to leave, but something about the door felt wrong. Smaller, narrower, as if the room had quietly grown larger behind my back. Don't panic, just move. I walked quickly through the door, into the archive room again. The shelves were still there, the tapes, the red light. But now, the air was humming with low frequency, not from any machine, but deeper, bone level. It made the hairs on my arm stand up. My heart kept skipping beats. Then the lights flickered, just once. But when they came back on, the archive room wasn't the same. The walls had shifted. The shelving wasn't aligned anymore. The entrance, the one I knew I came through, was now sealed. Just smooth, unbroken concrete where a door used to be. What the hell is happening? My voice barely escaped my throat. It didn't even echo. The room was reshaping itself. Or I was slipping somewhere else. Maybe both. I turned, searching for any other way out, and that's when I saw the television screen again. It was on, just like before, playing back footage. But now it showed me, standing in the same spot I was currently in, spinning slowly, panicking. And behind me, the shape again. Only this time, it was closer. I spun around. Nothing. Just empty air. But my body didn't believe it. Every nerve screamed. Every shadow on the wall looked like a limb twitching out of sight. I had to get out. Had to move. I shoved over a shelf in blind desperation, tape spilling to the floor. The wall behind it wasn't concrete. It was a door. A new one. Unlabeled. Painted black. Just there. You don't have a choice, I thought. You never did. So I opened it. Beyond the door, a hallway stretched into darkness. No lights. No windows. Only the buzz of static echoing from far ahead, as if someone had left a radio on at full volume but turned the frequency dial just enough to avoid meaning. I kept moving, hand against the wall for balance. The texture of the concrete was off, softer in places, like sponge or skin. The floor dipped randomly, sloped at awkward angles, and the walls breathed ever so slightly. After a few minutes, the hallway ended, and I stepped into a room I knew wasn't part of the station's blueprints. It looked like a living room. 1970s decor, mustard-colored couch, green shag carpet, a TV set built into a wooden cabinet, the kind my grandmother used to own. It was playing static, loud and angry. I took one step in and immediately regretted it, because the walls, they weren't real. Not in the physical sense. They shimmered, a visual glitch, like textures not loaded properly in a game. The furniture flickered, disappearing and reappearing, sometimes in different positions. And the air reeked not of dust, but of remembered things. School hallways, burnt popcorn, old medicine cabinets. The smell of places I hadn't thought about in years. I didn't want to stay, but the TV flared, and suddenly it wasn't static anymore. It showed a room, this room. Empty. Then, a man appeared on screen, sitting on the couch, head down, shaking. It was me. I watched myself on the screen as my duplicate slowly looked up. His face was blank, pale, no eyes, just black, bleeding sockets. His mouth opened wider than it should have, a horrible crack stretching across his cheeks. Then he screamed. Not from the TV. From behind me. I whipped around. Nothing. Nothing but a couch with fresh indentations in the cushions, like someone had just stood up. And then the door I came through slammed shut. I ran to it, pulled, slammed. Nothing. It was sealed. Let me out, I shouted. What do you want? The TV flared again. Now it showed me, the real me, here and now, banging on the door. Then the screen split. One half showed the hallway I just walked through. The other half showed the control room. And something was in it. The shape. Walking. Slowly. Toward the monitors. Toward where I had been. It turned to look at the camera. No face. But it knew. It's following me. It knows where I am. It's watching every step. I backed away from the TV, breathing hard, mind spinning. Then something new appeared on screen. A number. Time remaining 032417. Counting down. And beneath it, a message. Synchronization complete. Vessel recognized. I dropped to my knees. It felt like the room was tilting, spiraling. Like gravity was changing. I pressed my palms to the flickering green carpet just to keep from falling upward. What the hell did Vessel mean? Me? Is it syncing with me? Is that what the tapes are for? What the photos were tracking? The countdown ticked on. Steady. Relentless. I sat there, the static growing louder. And then, for just a moment, I heard my own voice, not from my mouth, but from the walls. You should have never come here. The countdown kept ticking. 032149032148032147. I couldn't look away from it. The numbers felt like they were being burned into the back of my eyes, like every second that passed was something being carved into me, not on my skin, but in the idea of me. My presence. My identity. Vessel recognized. Those words replayed in my head like a bad loop. Vessel. As in something to be filled. Occupied. Replaced. Vessel for what? I whispered. The room didn't answer. It never did. I stood slowly, ignoring the way my legs trembled. The couch was gone now. The TV, too. Just an empty room with 4 glitching walls and a carpet that didn't seem to follow the laws of texture anymore. Every step I took on it felt like stepping on something alive, squirming just beneath the surface. There were no doors left, no exit, no direction. Only one option remained. I turned to the farthest wall and pressed my hand against it. It gave way, like paper stretched over water. Behind it, darkness, but not just lack of light darkness. This was dense, a living void, the kind that made you feel like it was watching you the moment you stared into it. I stepped through anyway. I was falling, or floating. It was impossible to tell. No up, no down. No sensation of movement, just a tug behind my ribs, like a hook was pulling me through space not meant for people. Memories flickered around me like film reels. My 6th birthday party, a quiet hospital hallway, my mother screaming my name across a cornfield, all flashing by in grainy, washadoot sepia tones. I wasn't just moving through space, I was moving through me. Then, like a rip in fabric, the world reassembled. I landed hard on a cold tile floor. It was the control room, but not the control room. This one was older, rotting, half-melted monitors. The scent of burning plastic and old water damage filled the air. Mold bloomed across the ceiling in intricate, spiraling shapes. And in the center, that same desk, that same microphone. The one I'd seen when I first arrived. Only now, the chair behind it wasn't empty. There was a man sitting there, or what used to be one. His skin was pale, gray-green. His head was bowed, unmoving, thin black wires running into his wrists and temples. The back of his skull had been opened and filled with analog cables. His chest rose, barely, a wheezing breath every 10 seconds or so. His fingers twitched. I took a step closer. "Hello?" I said, barely louder than a whisper. The man jerked violently, like a puppet on invisible strings. His head lifted, revealing a face torn between expression and nothing. Eyes that blinked, but didn't see. A mouth that moved, but didn't speak. Then, the speakers in the ceiling crackled. Protocol Vessel 9. Status stabilizing dot. I stared at the figure in the chair. Who are you?" His lips parted, but the voice came from the speakers again, distorted and layered, like 5 voices speaking at once, none of them human. "I am what came before." Before? The man's mouth moved again, this time forming the shape of my name. Caleb. My blood turned to ice. He knew me, or it did. This thing inside him. I didn't reply. I couldn't. "Do you know what you are?" The question wasn't rhetorical. I swallowed, hard. "I'm just a technician. I was sent here to." "You were sent here to return, to complete the cycle." "I don't understand." The man smiled. Or tried to. His lips cracked. Black fluid leaked from the corner of his mouth. "The station is not a place. IT is a bridge, a process, a machine that copies the observer." I shook my head, stepping back. "Copies? What are you talking about?" "Every signal broadcast, every tape recorded, every moment repeated. IT is all part of the transference." I felt sick, like my stomach had dropped out from under me. "This station doesn't record the world, it records people. Me. It's been recording me. For what? So you may be rebuilt." "No," I said, louder now. "I never agreed to this. You came. You saw. You triggered the process. You are the final input." My thoughts were spinning, every part of me screaming to run, to break something, to wake up and realize this was all a nightmare made from static and stress. Then I remembered the countdown. I glanced around. A monitor behind the desk blinked awake. Time remaining 024603. It was still going. "What happens when it hits 0? I asked. The figure in the chair twitched again. The wires rattled. "The new you will wake. The old you will remain here." "Like you?" No answer. I stepped forward, heart pounding. The air was heavier now. Every breath felt like I was breathing through tar. I reached out toward the man, toward whatever was inside him. He grabbed my wrist. Cold. So cold. And then I saw it, not with my eyes, but in my head. Images. Flickering. Dozens of others. Men. Women. Children. All standing in this room. All screaming. All disappearing into tapes. Into wires. Into copies of themselves that walked away smiling, while the real ones stayed here. Buried in circuits. Forgotten. IT will be peaceful, the voice said. You're lying. IT is complete. You cannot stop IT. I yanked my hand free, ran to the monitor, slammed my fists against the console. I won't let it happen. I'm not a vessel. I'm not going to be erased. Then, for the first time, the voice paused. Then you must kill what comes out. I stopped. What? When the copy awakes, IT will not know IT isn't you. IT will smile. IT will wave. IT will leave the station. IT will live. You will stay. I stared at the man in the chair. His head was tilted again, twitching. The voice came slower now. If you want to be real, you must destroy the false. I didn't want to believe it. That something could take everything I am, my thoughts, my face, my voice, and walk away while I stayed behind like a ghost in a rusted chair. But the man, the thing, in front of me was proof. A failed version, a forgotten copy, a warning. And maybe, if I stayed here long enough, I'd become just like him. But the worst part, it wouldn't even matter. Because someone, something, wearing me would leave, smile at the world, and live a life that was never theirs. I paced the rotten control room, trying not to breathe too deep. The mold was thicker here, in clotted spirals along the walls, like tumors or eyes, pulsing faintly with my movement. How do I kill a version of myself? I sat in the corner and pulled my knees to my chest. For a second, I thought I could hear the countdown again, ticking softly behind the hum of electricity. 021142021141. You must kill what comes out. The words wouldn't leave me alone. That wasn't advice. It was a test, or maybe a trap. They want me to try. Maybe that's part of it. Still, if I didn't do anything, I'd be stuck here. Or worse, turned into another broken conduit, fed into the next round of synchronization. How many times had this happened? How many versions of me already existed? I stood, slow and shaky, and stared at the husk in the chair. Where will it appear? I asked. The voice answered from somewhere above, flat and final. Birth room. That chilled me more than anything else had. Of course there's a birth room, I muttered. The mold parted on the far wall, forming a circular opening. Beyond it a corridor lined with black cables, pulsing faintly like veins. I stepped through. The tunnel curved downward, subtly at first, then sharply. Soon I was descending at an impossible angle. My legs kept moving, but gravity had shifted again. I wasn't walking, I was being drawn. All around me, the walls throbbed and breathed. Shades pressed against them from the other side. Hands, faces, mouths, all silent, all watching. I kept my eyes forward. Eventually, the corridor opened into a room that didn't make sense. The walls weren't walls. They were screens, hundreds of them, forming a dome. Each one showed a different version of me. Me eating dinner. Me laughing with someone I didn't recognize. Me getting older. Me dying in a hospital bed. Me staring into the camera, right now. I spun to the center. There it was. A glass cylinder, fogged over. Inside, a figure, still forming, but definitely me. Same face, same shoulders. Its chest rose and fell like it was dreaming. The lights flickered, and then its eyes opened. My heart stuttered. It looked calm, serene, unbothered. It smiled. God, it even smiles like me. I took a step forward, fists clenched. What are you? I asked. The glass vibrated. A voice came from within the chamber, my voice, but slower, warmer. I'm free. It stepped forward in the fog. Its body was more complete now. Clothes materializing, hair settling. It pressed a hand to the glass. You're not real, I said. You're just a copy, and you're just a pattern, it replied. Stuck here. Repeating. They made me so you could leave. I froze. What? You don't have to stay, it said, calmly. I can stay in the station. I want to. I can keep the system alive. I am the system now. I stared at it, heart pounding, thoughts racing. Was this another trick? Or was it telling the truth? I reached out and touched the glass. Cold. You'd stay, I whispered. Here? In this place? It nodded. I was made for it. I'm part of it now. A door slid open behind the chamber. Beyond it daylight. Not flickering lights. Not static. Daylight. Trees. Wind. A world. Real. I turned back to the chamber. You want me to go? It smiled again. It's what I was made for. This makes no sense. None of it did, but the idea of leaving, it burned in my chest like hope. Still, something gnawed at me. How do I know you're not just lying, trying to trap me again? I'm not like the others, it said. I'm not broken. I'm complete. I don't need your body. I don't need your memories. I have everything I need. Its voice softened. You can live. For both of us. I stood there for a long time. Watching it. Watching me. And for the first time since arriving, I didn't feel watched. I didn't feel chased or tested or recorded. I felt seen. I'm sorry, I said. I don't know why. Maybe to the versions of me that hadn't made it out. Or maybe to the one who would stay behind. The door behind the chamber opened wider. Light poured in. I walked toward it. Each step felt lighter, realer. I crossed the threshold. And for a second, the world snapped too sharply into focus, like my eyes weren't used to real light, real air, real color. Birds chirped in the distance. A breeze touched my face. I turned back. The doorway was gone. No station, no tunnel, no monitors, just a forest clearing. Like I'd woken up from the longest, strangest dream. I dropped to my knees and breathed. It was over, or so I thought. I reached into my pocket, almost instinctively, and pulled out a small photo I didn't remember placing there. A Polaroid, old. On it me, standing in the clearing, and behind me, that shape, still blurred, still watching, but closer now, closer than ever. I stared at the Polaroid until my hands shook. That shape in the background, barely visible, but undeniable, was closer than it had ever been. Its edges weren't as blurred anymore. It had limbs, a torso, an almost human posture, but its face, that was still a mess of static and shadow, like the camera didn't know how to capture it, or didn't want to. I stuffed the photo back into my jacket and scanned the clearing. Just trees, just wind. No sounds but the natural ones, bird song, leaves rustling, the distant trickle of water. But I couldn't relax, because something was off. I hadn't seen another person since I left the station. Not a single soul. And worse, I had no memory of how I got here. No roads, no trail, no car, just here. Like I'd been dropped into a world already running without me. Maybe this wasn't the world at all. Maybe this was just another layer. I walked. After what felt like hours, I found a dirt path. Narrow, overgrown. I followed it. Every step was tense, like I was waiting for the forest to turn on me, twist into a new shape. Like it had before, but it didn't. Eventually, the path led to a road. Cracked asphalt, faded lines, tire tracks, civilization. At least, what was left of it. A gas station stood a few hundred feet ahead. Rusted sign. Shattered windows. Empty. It looked wrong. Like it had been built too fast. Details missing. A dream's version of a gas station. I stepped inside. Dust floated in the air like snow. The shelves were empty, but not looted, like they'd never been stocked. The lights buzzed faintly despite no power. And then, I saw the mirror. Near the back. It hung above a sink in the employee restroom. Dirty. Streaked. But it showed my reflection. Except it didn't. I leaned closer. My face stared back. But the eyes were wrong. Not in shape, in focus. They were looking behind me. I spun, fists clenched, heart slamming. Nothing. Just a bare wall. I turned back to the mirror. Now my reflection was smiling. I wasn't. Panic crawled up my spine. I stumbled back, hit the doorframe, and bolted into the station's main room. And that's when I saw it again. Out the front window, standing on the far end of the lot. That shape. Still blurred. Still watching. But now, it had a head, shoulders, fingers. It didn't move. It just stood there, like it was waiting. I thought I left this behind. No, I didn't leave anything. That thing, whatever it is, didn't stay in the station. It followed me, because maybe it wasn't just watching. Maybe it was me. I grabbed a rusted metal pipe from the floor and stepped outside. The cold air slapped my face. The shape didn't flinch. "Who are you?" I shouted. No reply. I stepped forward, pipe in hand, heart thudding against my ribs. "You're not real," I said. "You're just another test." Still, it didn't move. I got closer. 20 feet. 15. 10. And then, it tilted its head. My muscles locked. Its face was still a smear of movement, like watching TV through broken glass, but I could hear it now. Breathing. My breathing. Exactly in sync. I raised the pipe, and it raised its hand, mimicking me, perfectly. "I'm real," I whispered. "You're not." The shape opened its mouth, not wide, just enough, and spoke. "My name is Caleb." My arms dropped, my vision tunneled. That voice, that tone, that cadence. It was me, the copy, the one that left the station. I was the one who stayed behind. I never left. The Polaroid, the silence, the missing roads, the fake gas station, the mirror's betrayal. It all made sense. I was the station now. I was the vessel. I dropped the pipe. My knees buckled. The copy took a step forward. No more blur. No more distortion. Just me. Clean. Calm. Complete. And smiling. "You made it far," it said. "Some don't even get this far." I shook my head, trembling. "You lied. You said you'd stay." "I did," it said, crouching. "I stayed there, and I left here." My thoughts raced. None of it fit. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to. The station doesn't move through time like you do. It peels, like an onion. You're just another layer. It leaned closer, and I'm the one who gets to wear the skin. My hands shook. My thoughts twisted in loops. "I'm still me," I whispered. "I remember everything." "So do I." It stood. "You should be proud," it said. "You lasted longer than most." Some break in the chair, others dissolve trying to walk. "Why?" I asked. "Why do this?" "Because that's what the station is for," it said. "It's a bridge, and sometimes, bridges have tolls." It turned. "I'll see you again," it said, walking into the tree line. "When you forget. When another version of you stumbles in. And then we'll do it all over again." I tried to scream, but I couldn't. My voice, my breath, was gone. The world pulsed, glitched, and I was standing back in the control room. Alone. The chair beneath me creaked. The cables returned. The screens blinked. Time remaining 995,959. A new countdown. A new cycle. It's different this time. The chair is colder. The cables feel tighter. The hum of the station has a pulse. Like it's alive. Like it knows I'm back. But I never left, did I? I stare at the monitor ahead of me. My reflection ripples faintly across the dark glass. Just a hint. Just enough to remind me that I'm still me. For now. The timer in the top corner ticks down. 995,824, 995,823. A fresh cycle. A new start. Or maybe just the same nightmare in a different coat. My head throbs. My memory feels fractured, like a mirror held together by fingerprints and wishful thinking. I remember the clearing. I remember the copy. I remember its words. "You're just another layer." So what layer am I now? Am I the real one? Or am I the broadcast? The screens flicker on, one by one. Each shows a corridor, or a room, or a cell. All empty, all waiting. Waiting for what? Me? Or someone else? A voice echoes from above, distorted, but not unfamiliar. "Caleb Prime. Prepare for recording." Prime. They've never called me that before. Does that mean I'm the original? Or just the one they think is original? Does it even matter? I clench my fists. I'm done playing your game. No response. Just the low electric murmur of the station. Like something breathing through wires. I pull myself from the chair, and the cables fall away, almost eagerly. Like they were never really restraining me. Like they just needed me seated, grounded in place. But I won't be still anymore. I head down the nearest hallway. The lights flicker in greeting. The mold on the wall seems thinner this time, more purposeful. Arranged in spirals, symbols. Like some sick kind of language I was never meant to read. I pass through the corridor marked birth, but the chamber is dark now. Empty. The pod that once held the copy, him, is shattered. Its glass curled inward, not outward. He didn't escape. He was born. He wanted to come out. I move faster now. A silent fury growing in my chest. They built this place to create versions. Not to trap them, to refine them. To broadcast the best one. Was that me? Or was I just the feed? I find a door marked Control Core. It wasn't there before. I know because I would have remembered the stench, like ozone and burned hair and wet copper. The air behind the door is heavy, thick enough to chew. Still, I step inside. A vast circular room. Floor covered in a black, glistening substance. Wires hang from the ceiling like vines. At the center, a pillar of light, too bright to look at directly, pulses like a heartbeat. Screens line the walls. Thousands of them. And every single one shows a version of me. Me sleeping. Me waking. Me screaming. Me dying. Me laughing. I almost don't see the figure in the middle. Until it moves. It's slumped at the base of the pillar. Connected to it. Head bowed. Tube snaking into its spine, its neck, its temples. I step closer. And my heart skips. It's me, or what's left of me. Gaunt. Pale. Skin like wax. Eyes sewn shut. Yet somehow, still breathing. Still, alive. I fall to my knees. What the hell is this? The mouth of the figure opens. No sound. Just air. But the screens respond. They flicker. Then they speak. Each one a different voice. Different version of me. Overlapping. Chaotic. You were always here. You never left. They needed a source. The signal must be clean. You were the cleanest. The brightest. The first. The room starts to spin. My ears ring. I clutch my head. Shut up. Shut up. The voices fall silent. Only one screen remains lit. And it shows the outside. A city. Skyscrapers. Roads. People. All living normal lives. And there, in the center, is him. The copy. Living my life. Surrounded by friends I don't remember. Smiling a smile I forgot how to make. Broadcasting me to the world. Perfect. Flawless. Loved. I slam my fist into the ground. I want it back, I whisper. The pillar pulses. The screens flicker. The sewn-eyed corpse lifts its head. And speaks, with my voice. You can have it. A shock runs through me. The pillar glows brighter. And then the figure screams. Its eyes burst open, black pits of light, and I feel something rip from my chest. A thread. No, not a thread. A tether. My tether. To this body. To this world. To this place. I fall backward, gasping. And I watch, in horror and awe, as I rise. No longer me. Not anymore. The thing that was slumped is now standing. Smiling. Whole. It walks past me like I'm not even there. And I realize. I'm not. I try to move. Nothing. Try to scream. Nothing. I look at my hands, translucent. Fading. The screens flicker again. Now they all show him. The one who rose. The one who broadcasts. The new signal. The next version. Perfect. And as the pillar dims, the countdown resets. 995,959. And deep inside the station, in a new chair, another version stirs. Breathing. Ready to broadcast.